Professor Fiddle Dee Dee.
Good morning, glory. Good morning, glory. Dog on your shoulder can find. Good morning, glory. You sweet love story, careless little flower of mine. I love you so, I love you, oh, that's my morning song. If you say yes, I'll confess I'll be happy all day long. Oh, good morning, glory. Good morning, glory. Come up and see me sometime.
Good morning. Again, the National Broadcasting Company takes pleasure in presenting an old favorite in a new show. Wendell Hall, known the world over as the red-headed music maker, appears in this new one-man series as Professor Fiddle Dee Dee, Doctor of Music and Professor of Seriology. He presents uke stuff and nonsense. Wendell Hall as Professor Fiddle Dee Dee.
Good morning, Professor Elmer Fiddle speaking, Fiddle Dee, if you will. Our subject today is culture, cake culture, citrus fruit culture, for instance. As you know, while in California a few years ago, I wrote a book on citrus culture. Let me see. Here it is. May I quote? As I see it, around and about the desert, there are acres and acres of lemon, grapefruit, orange, lime, and tangerine trees loaded with the luscious fruit. As you know, a grapefruit tree is an orange tree with swollen glands. A tangerine tree is an orange tree a bit smaller but with more precision. A lemon tree is an orange tree that has soured on life. So you see, it's all orange juice, any way you look at it. You didn't read that book? I did so. I wrote it in it, and I can read it in it. Pardon me. Culture, my friend, citrus fruit. Did you ever see just one seed in a seedless orange? Of course, you've seen one seed less. I'll concede that point. Skip it, Elmer. Sing it out. That's the ghost of Dinah, just arrived from China. Couldn't learn to play ping pong in Hong Kong. Didn't want to stay with too long. Sick and tired of rice and peas. That's the ghost of Dinah, never did look finer. Had to give away a silk kimono. All the sunny south would show his owner. Now she's like she used to be. Tried to stay away from the fields of white, the place she loved the most. Who could stay away from the fields of white? Dynamite, but not a ghost. Here's the ghost of Dinah, down in Carolina. See her picking cotton around her shanty, even though I the kind of slanter. That's the ghost of Dinah Lee. Last week we took up the California fig. Now let us today take up the dromedary date. That reminds me I had a date with my dentist last week. Remove a wisdom tooth. Forgot it. Figs, dates, and nuts. Yes, some of the big wholesale houses are not so happy over their date business to date. Oh, why, even today I saw a weather-beaten date sign. Perhaps you've noticed it. It reads, the Haswas Fig and Date Company. Nuts. I remember one time going through the peanut plantations of Brazil. Oh, was it the Brazil nuts? Anywho, I heard a couple of goober pickers. Two colored boys are talking it over down there. One says, say, Henry. Mm-hmm. Did y'all see the funny paper today? The funny paper? Funny paper? Why, you dummy, today is Wednesday. I told you not to take a bath last night. Think you're smart, ain't you? Well, you so smart. What do y'all know about the Czechoslovakia? About who? Czechoslovakia. It's hard to say. You're awful funny today. You know, you remind me of a rooster I used to have. A rooster? How come? Well, I used to have a rooster, and I called him Robinson. Robinson? Why for? Because he crew so. I get it, Elmer, I get it, but sing for us, Elmer, sing. In the middle of a kiss, suddenly it dawned on me. In the middle of a kiss, I knew you were mine. In the middle of a sweet embrace that you at first presented, remember how surprised we were to find we really meant it. In the middle of a sigh, we stumbled into paradise. In the twinkle of an eye, we lost it again. For we didn't comprehend that our dream of love would end just the way it began.
in the middle of a kiss.
Now take athletics. Take tennis. Oh, yes, this is Professor Elmer Fiddle fiddling. Take tennis. Take Helen Wills Moody. She made a grand comeback. It came as a great victory for all people who have ever had a backache taken lightly. Her victory was undoubtedly due to the fact that Helen never strayed from the straight and osteopath. Good work, Elmer. Sing out high voice. Fine, thank you. How's yours? Little song called Jimmy Had a Nickel just for the kids. Little Jimmy Jenkins had an uncle, and the uncle came to little Jimmy Jenkins' house one day. He gave little Jim a nickel, told him not to spend the nickel, but to save it for a rainy day. Now Jimmy left the house all in his glory. What happened after that's another story. Jimmy had a nickel, didn't have it long, didn't have it long, till the kids found out that Jimmy had a nickel, Jimmy had a nickel, Jimmy had a nickel, Jimmy had a nickel. Jimmy tried to hide it, but that would never do. That would never do, cause the kids all knew that Jimmy had a nickel, Jimmy had a nickel, Jimmy had a nickel, Jimmy had a nickel. Down the street his eager feet on their way to the candy store. When he got there, holly gee, he never knew he had so many friends before. Jimmy had a sweetheart, she was waiting too. Now the kids are blue, cause the kids found out that Jimmy had a sweetheart, Jimmy had a sweetheart, Jimmy had a nickel too. It wasn't a dollar, and a half didn't rhyme, and it wasn't a quarter, and it wasn't a dime, it was just a jit. Jimmy took his nickel and he said he'd buy a pickle, but the lad was very fickle, as he said, I will buy a lollipop, then I'll buy a chocolate drop, and put 3 pennies in my bank instead. Now little Jimmy's life was hunky-dory, but there's another chapter to the story. Jimmy had a nickel, but didn't have it long. Didn't have it long, cause his girl found out that Jimmy had a nickel, Jimmy had a nickel, Jimmy had a nickel, Jimmy had a nickel. Jimmy wanted candy, sweetie wanted pie, sweetie pie, but he didn't buy, cause he don't like pie. So Jimmy had a nickel, Jimmy had a nickel, Jimmy had a nickel, Jimmy had a nickel. Then his sweetheart changed her mind, and they went to a movie show. When they got there, holly gee, he couldn't get a ticket cause he lost his dough. Jimmy had a pocket, and the pocket had a hole. Pocket had a hole, now the story's through, cause Jimmy lost a nickel, Jimmy lost a nickel, Jimmy lost a sweetheart too. Jimmy lost a sweetheart too. Take a beautiful, oh, pardon me, I'm sorry. This is Professor Elmer Fiddle speaking. Fiddle Dee 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 Dee. Take a beautiful oil painting. Tapestry upon the wall. A Chinese dinner gong. A gorgeous pastel. A lovely old 4-posted bed. Persian rugs, an antique chair of the 14th century. Say, what is this, a household furniture ad? Oh, yes, I must have got hold of the wrong essay. Essay you did, Elmer, essay you did. Quiet, quiet. Where did I put my spectacles? Oh, I'm as blind as a bat without them. Oh, yes, speaking of bats, I went out to the baseball game yesterday. There were a couple of colored boys who met just outside, and as I went by, one said to the other, Hello, Willie. Hello, yourself. Where you been lately? Well, I ain't been out in about a month. What's the matter? Turned over a new leaf? No, turned over an old car. Say, what day is today? Thursday. Oh, good Lord, I'm late. Well, where you going, boy, and who? Well, I tell you, I had an awful time with Amos last night. Amos? Mm-hmm. Amos who? Amos Skeeter. Okay, Elmer, how's about a song? Really, it's a pleasure, it's a pleasure.
When the golden sun sinks slowly in the west, when the nightingale has sung, then I dream of happy days I love the best, when you and I were young. When the twilight shadows fall, dear, in the land of long ago, memories of old recall, dear, love, the golden love we used to know. Hand in hand in memory, under skies aglow, breezes whisper, I love you so. while the twilight shadows fall, dear, in the land of long ago. While the twilight shadows fall, dear, in the land of long ago. Memories of old recall, dear, love, the golden love we used to know. Hand in memory, under skies aglow, breezes whisper, I love you so. While the twilight shadows fall, dear, in the land of long ago.
Figuratively speaking, as an example, take a proposition like this. Your professor has a flair for mathematics. Flair will. Oh, yes, this is Professor Elmer Fiddle speaking. F-I-D-D-L-E. D-D as in fiddle or Fiddle Dee Dee to you. Take grammatics. I love the drama. Take, for instance, that dinner scene from The Merchant of Constantinople. Mrs. Perkledrips speaks up.
Oh, William, I have a craving today. I think I'll have a cup of coffee, or a cup of coffee, or a cup of coffee. Jewish coffee, William.
Mr. Perkledrips looks up from his paper and says, No, Matilda, Turkish coffee.
Oh, William, oh, my, isn't this awful, or isn't this awful coffee? Will you have some more, William?
If you please, Matilda.
With or without? With or
Without what?
coffee.
No, Matilda, I don't think I will. I think instead I'll have a cool, tall glass of milk.
Okay, William, or something.
Let it go, Elmer. Sing it out, boy, sing it out. There's a lonesome little gal for every boy, that's what they say. But every gal I try to get just goes the other way. I'm just about as welcome as the flies are in July, or a blizzard in September, or a cinder in your eye. Grapes may grow on apple trees, but I don't think so. Scotchmen, they may freeze their knees, but I don't think so. Now there may be lime in a lima bean, there may be bean on a limousine, a blackbird may be blue or green, but I don't think so. And a pound of coffee may be ground, but I don't think so. And a fugit may not make a sound, but I don't think so. Cotton may grow in a cottonwood tree, maybe 2 out of quarter to 3, but the gals all fall in love with me, but I don't think so. Well, daisies they may never tell, but I don't think so. And billy goats may sort of, I ain't sure. Well, a judge may say, ain't it fine today? Of course, it may not decide to stay. Your scale may give itself away, but it isn't likely. Well, I may get pie-eyed eating pie, but I don't believe and eat the apple of my eye, but I don't think so. If a big bass viol has a sweet little bow, that's all there is, and ain't it the most except the gals all think I'm pretty slow, but I don't think so. Yes, so that is that, and those are those for this morning. This is your old soul-top bespectacle, when I can find them, absent-minded Professor Fiddle Dee Dee saying good morning for this morning. We will conclude today's discussion tomorrow, I think. Remember, these serious days are in seriology, are for until then, the old red-headed music maker's going to see you pretty soon. Good morning, Glory. Good morning, Glory. Doggone, you sure looking fine. Good morning, Glory. You sweet love story, careless little flower of mine. I love you so, I love you, oh, that's my morning song. If you say yes, I'll confess I'll be happy all day long. Good morning, Glory. Good morning, Glory. Come up and see me sometime.
And so we say good morning to Professor Fiddle Dee Dee, the seriologist, until tomorrow at this same time. Used on Wendell Hall's program today were The Ghost of Dinah, In the Middle of a Kiss, Jimmy Had a Nickel, and 2 of the red-headed music maker's own compositions, Land of Long Ago and I Don't Think So. Tune in again for Professor Fiddle Dee Dee and his uke stuff and nonsense. This is the National Broadcasting Company, RCA Building, Radio City.